Welcome to Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. On this podcast, we bring the conversation to you, sharing engaging stories that motivate and build consensus in the nonprofit community. This podcast is about the innovators, the leaders on the front line of adversity, guiding lights in the nonprofit industry affecting change. And through their stories, we can all join forces to become Civic Warriors. Hey, Warriors. Welcome to today's episode of Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. I'm your host, Brad Caruso, leader of Witham's not-for-profit practice. Today, we are going to talk about the importance of fundraising and volunteerism with a very special guest, Sherry Kirkpatrick. Sherry is a nonprofit fundraising and communication expert with over 25 years of experience. She currently serves as the campaign development manager for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, working on the Visionaries of the Year fundraising campaign. And also, Sherry has been happily married for 28 years, a mom of 2 girls and a dog, Stewie. LLS's mission is to cure blood cancers and improve the quality of life of patients and their families. LLS funds life-saving blood cancer research around the world, provides free information and support services, and is the voice for all blood cancer patients seeking access to quality, affordable, coordinated care. Sherry and I met through a board member of LLS and former Witham employee, and I was very happy that I got this introduction to Sherry to get involved more with LLS and to learn about the Visionaries of the Year program. I was asked to participate in it to make an impact on cancer and got very excited because I had the opportunity to work closely both with Sherry, who's a wonderful person, and work on a fundraising campaign, which is something that, quite honestly, I've never done before in any large scale other than maybe raising a couple dollars here and there. And I realized that, it's a ton of work, but excited to really embark on that journey, even though I am quite terrified of, how I'll do and, am I going to be able to have an impact like I'm thinking I can. But bigger picture, we're really looking forward to it. And I learned through Sherry kind of the importance of fundraising and why it's so important to get very closely involved with an organization you have a connection to. I developed a team, Civic Warriors for a Cure, named after this podcast itself. And we're looking forward to running a good campaign. So welcome to the show, Sherry. Appreciate having you here.
Well, thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate being here.
Just to start off, maybe give us a little background. How did you arrive at LLS? What drove you to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society?
Wow. Okay. So I have to go back quite a ways. I first got started with philanthropy back in elementary school. I don't know, you might be too young, Brad, but I don't know if you remember the muscular dystrophy telethons that Jerry Lewis used to have. I just used to it was like a 3-day telethon over either Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend. I used to love watching it as a kid, and they always talked about ways that kids could get involved and raise money. So I started there and just went around the neighborhood collecting money and was pretty excited because the first year I did it, I ended up getting a bike because I raised so much money. So that was pretty exciting. Then in college, the part of my sorority, I became the philanthropy chair for our sorority and did we did a big volleyball tournament with the Denver Broncos, which I'm from Colorado originally. So the Broncos are huge for me. So it was great to be able to work for them and do a volleyball tournament on campus at the University of Denver. And we ended up raising about $5,000 there. So, lots of experience there, graduated college, worked for a radio station for a little while. While I was doing that, I volunteered for the March of Dimes. Then I worked for a little while. I took a temporary position with Big Brothers Big Sisters to help them on a big bowl-a-thon that they did. And then after that, I worked at an ad agency. When my husband and I got married, we moved to the city. Thought it'd be really cool to work at an ad agency. And once I worked there, I was like, I'd much rather go back to nonprofit. So worked for the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, worked for another small nonprofit here in Monmouth County where I live. Then I worked for another organization for 15 years, the Lupus Research Alliance. A little while I worked for Make-A-Wish, and now I'm here at the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And I'm very happy to be here because just like most people, my life has been touched by cancer. I lost my grandmother to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of blood cancer. And then a couple of years ago, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. So it's definitely something I'm very passionate about, this cause.
That connection to that cause definitely helps with the work. And you can tell just in my conversations with you how passionate you are about helping LLS and the work that you all do. Maybe share a little information about, if you can, about LLS itself, and why is their mission so important in this fight against cancer that many of us are personally impacted by.
LLS's mission is to cure blood cancers, which is leukemia, lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, and myeloma, and also to improve the quality of life for patients and their family. We were founded about 70 years ago by a family who lost their teenage son to leukemia, and they wanted to do whatever they could in their power to ensure nobody else lost a loved one. So we started, I think it was the Leukemia Society way back when, and we've changed our name over the years, and now we're the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. We have 3 mission pillars. Obviously, the first one is research, because in order to get new treatments and ultimately find a cure, that takes research. We advocate. So really we advocate for policies to protect patient access to life-saving treatments, access to care, help bring down the cost of prescription drugs, bring down the cost of healthcare. And then I kind of think this one is most important because, yes, our research and everything is great, and treatments, are really good at helping people cure cancer. But in order to really help them through that battle, they have to be in the right mindset. They need to have that support system of their family. They need to have support, through somebody who's been through what they're going through. They need to be educated. And that's what LLS does really well, is that patient support portion of it. For me, when I first started here, I didn't realize that there have only been 4 oncology treatments approved for first use in children by the FDA in 40 years. However, breaking news, yesterday we just saw that the FDA approved a 5th treatment for pediatric blood cancers, which is really amazing. But I was so shocked that there's only been 4 treatments. And for anybody who has had a family member, a loved one, or somebody go through, a cancer journey and had to fight that battle, how toxic most of those treatments are for adults, let alone imagining a child having to go through the same treatment. And what really shocked me the most is 80% of all childhood cancer survivors, it doesn't matter what kind of cancer it is, will develop one or more chronic health condition as they get older. And to me, I just couldn't believe that. You go through all the stress and the of being afraid and everything, helping your child go through that cancer battle, and they survive. And then now you've got to look, oh my gosh, what's next? What's going to come up? Are they going to have learning disabilities? Are they going to have permanent organ damage? Are they going to have fertility issues? What other kind of things? Could they even develop a secondary cancer, all as a result of their treatments? So one of the programs that LLS has that I think we just started is our Dare to Dream program, which is an amazing $175 million project to improve and outcomes for children, so that not only can they survive their cancers, but thrive in their lives afterwards. And this is targeting everything from getting new treatments, more safer, more effective treatments, trying to move away from chemotherapy and radiation, moving more towards those immunotherapies and precision medication, precision medicine, I should say, for children, but also really working on advocating for children's rights as they battle cancer and providing support and resources and stuff for children. And that to me is just, so important to help children and help them get through their cancer diagnosis and thrive afterwards.
There are so many things that occur in that journey, so many challenges. Some of that is financial. Some of that is education and understanding what you're going through or understanding where to go to. Some of that is a support system, as you mentioned. And, I think, my experience in talking with a few people, as well as in working directly with you, is how integral it is for an organization or not-for-profit like LLS to be involved just in helping people kind of navigate, I don't want to say the system, but navigate the various challenges and complications that arise, what financial or not. So it's super important, especially if it's your child. I mean, I can't imagine it, and it scares the daylights out of me to think, having a child. I have 2 kids, obviously, and as I've mentioned before, and having those 2 children, I can't imagine going through that, even from that first initial, hey, your child has cancer. Like what goes through your head, and how that and how you wade through that moving forward. It's such a challenge.
Well, and how do you explain it to them? Like, how do you explain to a 4-year-old that they're going to have, they're going to have spinal taps, that they're going to have blood draws, that they're going to have to wear a port, that they're going to, feel sick after treatment? Like, how do you explain that to a 4-year-old? And how do you wrap your head around that as a parent? So those are all things that are so important to help with. And that's where, LLS can be a huge resource for anybody that is going through that cancer journey.
Definitely. So I think one of the things I thought was very important, and I was new to this in meeting you, Sherry, and in working on the Visionary of the Year program, was the importance of volunteering and running a fundraising campaign and being involved and connecting yourself to that cause and doing all the work that goes into it. Why is volunteering and running a fundraising campaign so important?
For parents, if you have children that are at elementary age, it is a great idea to start getting them involved in philanthropy and giving back. It really can help your child develop their core values like gratitude, generosity, empathy, and compassion. Studies suggest actually that kids are more likely to empathize with those in need or identify things that they have in common than adults. So kids are already prone to wanting to help out. So I highly recommend start encouraging them to get involved. And here's some ways to do that. So for example, like we did each year at the end of the year, we like to give to charity. And so we ask our kids to sit down with us and kind of research some charities and find charities that they, want to support. And then we can give our donation that way. So that's a great way to start getting them to think about that. The kids could give a percentage of their allowance, or maybe go through and donate some of their toys or some of their clothes to people in need. Maybe they can be involved, like if you're, do a fundraising event, like a walkathon or something like that, they can participate in that. Maybe they can have a lemonade stand or collect coins or do a car wash or something like that to raise money for a cause that they care about. Or maybe they can even do like a food or a coat or toy drive for a charity. And that's some great ways to really start teaching them those core values that you want them to have. And then I would move on to like adolescents, like teenagers. There are a lot of charities that will take, teenagers to help volunteer with different things. Just keep in mind that some charities may have an age limit. You might have to be 18. I know a lot of animal shelters limit it to 18 before you can start volunteering. And then some, there's lots of different ways they can get into fundraising. Sometimes their high school may be doing a Relay for Life event, or maybe you can do something in the school as far as collecting coins. There's also some organizations will have leadership roles that high school students can take. And very importantly for high school students, for Honor Society, the National Honor Society, you need so many hours, right, to volunteer. So this is a great way to help get those hours. And it also looks really great, like the Adult Visionary of the Year that LLS has. We also have a Student Visionaries of the Year program where high school students try to raise as much money as they build teams and try to multi-generational teams, I should say, and try to raise as much money as they possibly can in 7 weeks. Things like that. Great learning skills while learning how to present, how to manage a team, how to communicate, all of these things that these kids can learn. And think about that. Most kids write their college essays on, I tore my ACL playing sports. This is something that you can write, whatever you do for a charity, you can write about it in your college essays and put it on your college applications to really help you make you stand out, when applying for colleges. So there's lots of great reasons there. And then college, right? You're in college. There's still lots of opportunity to get involved and volunteer. A lot of colleges have mini clubs. Some of them are just strictly for volunteering. Fraternities and sororities, for example, every fraternity and sorority has their own pet cause that they fundraise for. So that's a great way to get involved there. You can do an internship at a charitable organization. Unfortunately, those don't pay kids. So if you're thinking about doing it, just remember this is, you're going to be more of a volunteer, but you do get credit for it. You can volunteer on your own or choose your own charities. And think about it, though, the more you volunteer, especially if you pick something and you stick with it all 4 years of college, if you do an internship, it's great on your resume, right? It's great, as once you graduate, you don't have necessarily a lot of work experience on your resume. So anything that you can use to boost your resume is definitely very good. And then now to your original question, young adults. So there are so many opportunities for young adults just starting in the workforce. It can be anywhere from right as you graduate, as you're moving up in your career, to get involved. So there's you could join. First of all, think about joining an employee resource group if your company has one of those. That's a great way to start giving back and helping volunteer. There are a lot of organizations that have a young professionals group or an emerging leaders group that you can join, which is great to start taking on that leadership role. You're not going to be able to necessarily go right out and, go to call up a charity and say, hey, I want to be on your board of directors. It usually doesn't work quite that way. So you want to start at a little lower level. So you really definitely wanted to, see if they have a young professionals group or an emerging leaders group and find out what's involved in that. If they don't have something like that, a lot of charities, especially if they do any kind of fundraising events, could have a committee. So like if there's a walkathon, they might have a committee to help plan the walkathon, to like get food donations and corporate sponsors and things like that. So that's a great opportunity to join and be part of a committee. And why do these help? Well, it helps you when it comes to your career development. It's a great way, like you're going to reach out to your company, you're going to let them know what you're doing, you might ask them for support, they're going to see what you're doing and how you can manage. And so, when they're thinking about who they want to promote, or if there's another position available or something that you might want, that may make you stand out as opposed to some of your other coworkers. It's a great way for developing your personal brand. LinkedIn is the thing right now, right? Everybody that's looking to hire somebody goes to the potential candidates page and looks at the things that they've done. And you can put that on your LinkedIn page, saying that you're a volunteer and you've done these different types of things. That just shows them what kind of a person that you are. And it's also good for networking. Brad, as you were saying earlier, is like you're really learning how through the Visionaries of the Year campaign to work with your networks, to develop them, to build those relationships, to communicate with them. You're also learning really valuable skills, learning leadership skills, presentation skills, storytelling. Storytelling is like a very key word right now. Knowing how to tell your story about your company, about what your company does. You're doing the same thing with the charity. Active listening. Those active listening skills are extremely important. Obviously, simple things like organization, communication skills, networking, and just so many others. That's why it's so important for everybody to get involved, no matter the age. There are so many benefits to getting involved besides just, hey, the most important, like you're helping other people and you're going to end up feeling good about yourself.
Yeah. And just that, I think that on the feeling good about yourself, just the personal empowerment aspect that you find with accomplishing something and doing something kind of bigger than yourself and doing something that is, forcing you to use all these diverse skills in an overall effort where, there's not really like an end game for you personally, right? It's not like there's a paycheck you're fighting for. It's not like there's, an accolade, like, I would never do this because I personally want to be recognized. I would rather do it anonymously, and I think it's that aspect of that selfless act, but then using all of these life skills that you need, especially in business, when you're talking about storytelling, when you're talking about your personal brand and really having who you are through how you talk, through the stories you tell, people can get a sense of who you are on a variety of character traits like authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I think
absolutely.
Authenticity is a massively underrepresented character trait that I am very, very keen on evaluating. Like, are people authentic with what they're saying, or are they just reading the last tagline that they heard? Especially in today's day and age with social media, like, do the people really read the articles underneath the taglines, or are they just saying the taglines themselves and passing it off like they understand it? And like, that authentic component of, are they doing this really from an authentic place, or are they doing it for other reasons? And, I think all those skills are super important for anybody to learn. The leadership aspect of just leading a team of people to do something. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's digging a hole in your backyard, or if it's fundraising for a not-for-profit, or it's, running a team for a project for work. That leadership skill of being able to work in the bounds of people, coordinate things, be transparent about what your mission is and what you're trying to achieve, and then being, open and honest to make it better all the time. Those are all regardless of the task, but especially if you're going to do a volunteer or fundraising campaign, especially like the one of magnitude we're embarking on, it really teaches you a lot. And then when you get that resume question on or that interview question, which we ask all the time, and I interview tons of people, tell me something that you went through that was difficult that you overcame, or tell me an example of leadership in your life that you've done that you want to share. And if you say, oh, I ran this fundraising campaign for this not-for-profit because this personally affected me because of X, Y, and Z, and I had a team of 10 people, and we raised $50,000 or $3,000 or whatever the number is, and we accomplished our goal, or we were short, but we made it up the next year. Like, you can learn a lot about a person that went through something like that just by them telling that story, and how important that is, and how much that benefits everything else you're going to do. So once you get through that, okay, you're going to come across that again in a different way in your job. I do auditing for a living. So when I go run an audit, it's the same skills and principles. It's just applied to auditing a business. You have technical knowledge. You have to understand the business. You have to lead a group of people. You have to hold each other accountable. You're accountable to an external party. All of those things are it's all the same. But you learn it in an environment that you're volunteering, you're helping, it's kind of like a safe environment to some degree, because you're helping out. If you weren't there, it wouldn't be being done. You're there as an extra helping. Right. So it's a great way to get involved, and you do it for a cause that you appreciate and you're involved in. That's also important in all of this is finding an organization or a place or a cause that you're connected with, because it makes it so much easier.
It does.
Because it's authentic.
Another skill that I was just thinking of as you were talking too, that you learn, and then you have to use, that is important for every aspect of your life, is that fear of asking, right? There's always
Correct.
that fear of asking somebody for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's asking at your job for a raise, or asking for a promotion, or asking a family member to do something for you, or whatever. You learn how to kind of overcome that fear by helping, especially doing any fundraising for a charity, is because you're understanding that I'm not asking for myself, I'm asking for the charity, and I'm giving people the opportunity to support that charity. So I think that's another big skill that so many of us have, that we're all terrified of public speaking or putting ourselves out there. And that's another really great way that by being involved in charity and giving back can really help you overcome that.
Yeah, that is a great point, Sherry. When you really look at like that, that initial fear of an ask, whatever it is, whether it's asking for business, whether it's asking for, companionship, whether it's asking for friendship, whether it's asking for someone to help you with something, or whether it's asking someone, hey, can you contribute $1 to this cause? A lot of people have that fear of, well, how is that person going to react to that? And once you figure out how to get over that fear of how the person's going to react, and you focus on, my mission is X, my goal is X, this is how we're going to accomplish that, that fear starts going away, because you realize that it doesn't matter what that person asks. And also the fear of rejection. It doesn't matter.
That's a big thing. The fear of a no. Oh my gosh, you get a no? Is that personal? Right. No, it's not personal. It's not against you.
No, you always got to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Listen, if maybe you weren't compelling enough, maybe that person has no connection to it and they don't want to give to that, and kind of learning that both the fear of asking as well as the fear of their response, or the actual response to their response, eventually you realize that, those are very valuable life skills, and, you've had an environment where you've experienced it, and you get better at it. Exactly. You lose that, you probably never lose that fear a little bit. I mean, I speak to thousands of people over my life about difficult matters, complex scenarios, whatever it is. I never lose that initial fear. However, you gain the confidence to say, even though that fear is there, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to get through it. I know how to react to it now. I know how to respond to it.
And you got to get used to getting no's. No's are okay. No's are not a bad thing. Every time you reach out to somebody, especially when it comes to fundraising, and to tell them about what you're doing, you're increasing awareness for that charity. And that's a big deal. So it's really important. And I also wanted to talk about, because you said that, picking a charity that you're passionate about, right? I think that's really important. So how do you do that? How do you pick a charity, to support? And I think that comes to figuring out, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about the environment, LGBTQ rights, disease or mental health, suicide prevention, substance abuse, politics, women's rights, food insecurity, maybe at-risk youth? All of these type of things, you just got to figure out, what is it that you're passionate about? And then once you figure that out, the next step is to do an internet search. See what charities in your town are there. Check those out. See what they have. Look at their websites. See what kind of things they do. What kind of volunteer opportunities they have. Look at their financials to see how much do they actually give to the cause. So that you can pick a charity that is going to be really good, and then talk to somebody there, and just get some more information about them and ways that you can help. I mean, it's important that you want to make sure you pick a good charity, one that's really doing good work and something that you can get behind and believe behind before you don't just choose any charity randomly.
Yeah, and trial and error, right? I mean, I think there's the first place that you work with or volunteer with or connect yourself with is probably not going to be the last place that you volunteer with, connect with, So a lot of times too, I mean, I've had a few organizations over my, entire life I've worked with closely. Sometimes that work directly connects with you. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's points in your life where it does, and there's points in life where it doesn't. I never, growing up, I never thought I would join the fire department and then, make it my mission to both actively volunteer and fundraise for them on a variety of levels. But now that's a very important part of my life, and I don't even second guess it. I donate to the place that I volunteer 300 hours a year to. I still donate to them, and so it's definitely, you develop that connection, but it's through trying it. It's, if you're just looking for that perfect scenario, you're never going to find it. But if you're looking for somewhere like, I think I can relate, or, I've heard of them. They sound like a good place. Yeah, try it out. Call them up, reach out, see if there's a way you can get involved. Start small. Help an organization with a special event. Every not-for-profit has some kind of gala or golf outing or fun run, or every not-for-profit does something different. I guarantee with all the ones I work with, they're always looking for people to help coordinate. They're always looking for people to help with the event, the day of event stuff. There are plenty of things that you can inject yourself into and get involved with that. Just try it out, see what it's like, see what the people are like, see what you hear when you're at that event, see how they purport their organization. And you can learn a lot in a, without a massive time investment. It's another way to think about it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's so much more too that you get out of it. I mean, I know people that have been candidates before for the Visionaries of the Year campaign have ended up joining our leadership team and have done other campaigns throughout LLS. But they've become good friends too. Like they've become really close. They've become like family. People have gotten new jobs or, clients or, new vendors and things like that from participating in fundraising events and things like that. So there's lots of opportunity there. I would keep one thing in mind though, when reaching out to a charity, that if you're just looking for like, I want to go into the office and stuff envelopes, for a couple hours a week, most charities will really need the help is by fundraising, because they can't fulfill their missions without money. I mean, LLS couldn't do all the research that we do. We couldn't, advocate for new policies and things like that to support cancer patients. We couldn't provide support groups or education services without money. So when it comes to volunteering, it's great that you volunteer and give back. Just keep in mind that most charities, the thing you can help them most with is through fundraising.
Yeah, without question. So where I wanted to kind of dedicate a minute to here is just talking about the Visionary of the Year program itself.
Sure.
And some of the impact it has. So I'm embarking on that program right now and participating in the campaign and really trying to make an impact. Sherry, from your perspective, what is the Visionary of the Year program and what is the impact that it actually has?
Sure. Well, Visionaries of the Year is a fabulous program. It's one of the most unique fundraising campaigns that I've ever been part of. And basically, it's a 10-week philanthropic competition where leaders throughout the country, specifically ours is for New Jersey, try to put a team together and try to raise as much money as they possibly can in those 10 weeks. And at the end of the 10 weeks, we have a huge gala. We call it our grand finale, where all the candidates and their team members are invited. And we keep all the totals secret, so nobody knows where anybody is, how much any other candidate has raised. And then at the night of the grand finale, we announce our visionary of the year, which will be the candidate and the team end up raising the most money. So we'll have a visionary of the year, a visionary of the year runner-up, and a visionary of the year second runner-up. Another aspect of the campaign that I really love, because I think it offers somewhat more of a instant gratification for the candidate and their team members, is each candidate can pick one of LLS's 3 mission pillars. If you remember, I talked about it a little bit, that our mission pillars are research, advocacy, and patient support. So they get to pick one of those mission pillars, and Brad, you picked patient support. And they get to align their campaign with that particular mission pillar. And Brad, I know you have some things coming up later in the podcast to tell everybody a little bit more about the services and patient support options that we have. And you're going to be talking to a patient. So really helping to align your campaign with that specific mission pillar. And we will also, at that night at grand finale, we will announce our winner of each mission pillar. That will be the candidate who has incorporated the mission pillar the best into their campaign. So it's really a fun campaign. The 10 weeks is tough. There's a lot that goes involved in that, but the impact is huge. So last year in New Jersey, we had 12 candidates and about 230 team members. And the combined impact of all of that was we were able to raise $900,000 for LLS's mission, which is just amazing. And that's what's so cool about the finale, is you get to see that huge impact that collective impact that everybody makes.
That's incredible. And that, when you look at that impact and you look at all these team members that participate and you look at the candidates, I think everyone kind of brings their own experiences. They bring their own networks and they bring their own, ability to really have a massive impact. And to know that, over a 10-week period, you have 10 people that, may or may not have been affiliated in a significant way with LLS that can raise, $900,000 or $1 million. And I know that's New Jersey, right? And there's LLS across the country. I mean, you think about that impact that has, as Sherry mentioned, all the research that's done and finding cures, there's a substantial amount of funding that has to go into that. And, some of that comes from the not-for-profit sector, some of it comes from the private sector, some of it comes from, different sources. But at the end of the day, what I learned through this is just how important it is to set a lofty goal and then just do everything in your power to meet that. Where I've been fortunate is in meeting, having Sherry coach me through this. I never would have known how to approach this type of campaign or this type of goal. And I never would have set a goal that we set. And, our team, Civic Warriors for a Cure, named after this podcast and named after our overriding mission here, is to raise $75,000. And, from our perspective, I never would have picked a number like that because I said, how would we ever do that? But at the end of the day, we've been meeting every other week. We've been working on this for probably almost 5 or 6 months now. And the campaign starts April 4th. And, I realized that, when you're deliberate about something and you care about something and you get people, surround yourself with people. And I surrounded myself with a great group of great team members, a lot of family, a lot of personal friends, a lot of coworkers that I work with at Witham. And I realized how many people had a close connection to it and how many people were passionate about it and how many people, when I mentioned to them, they were honored to be a part of the team and wanted to help. And the amount of great ideas that came out of our team meetings and things, it's been phenomenal. And so, I never realized going through this what it would be like to participate. But to Sherry's point, it's just an innovative way of approaching it, but it just is so much good for both the candidates as well as for LLS as a whole, which is the overriding mission or the overriding goal here is to help LLS. But yeah, we set a lofty goal and now we're doing our best to raise as much money as we can and make it to the Hall of Fame over at LLS and hopefully be on that board one day with meeting our goal and doing good for the world. It's really a great thing that you, Sherry, do personally, working with all the candidates and LLS doing to both support us in our mission to raise dollars as well as in providing us all the resources to allow that to happen in a seamless way. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm excited about how we're going to do.
Yeah, it is so exciting, and it's amazing how much everybody can raise. We just finished up our Students Visionaries of the Year for North Jersey. We just had their grand finale last weekend, and I think we had 26 candidate teams. For students, they get to have up to 3 candidates on together, whereas unfortunately for the adults, it's just the one person, and then they build a team. But the campaign this last weekend raised $1.2 million, and these are high school kids. It is amazing what, when you get the right, you learn the right skills and you learn the right things to do, and you really, dig into your networks and reach out and give everybody the opportunity to donate. It's really amazing how generous people can be. And it just makes you feel so good at the end of the day that, you have great family and friends and people that are willing to support you. How many people are affected, but yet everybody's willing to give that effort and do give generously to help you raise a significant amount of money to do something really, really good.
No doubt. Sherry, if someone wanted to find more information about LLS, how could they do that?
Oh, so simple. You can go to LLS.org. That's the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, so LLS.org. And you can learn more about our organization and everything. Just keep in mind, poor Brad can't do any fundraising until April 4th. But once we get to April 4th, Brad's going to be doing everything he can in his power to raise as much money as possible. So I'm sure he would love anybody's support, but definitely check out our website.
Well, Sherry, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for spending the time sharing that information about LLS and your personal background with the audience, and sharing more information about how, everybody out there can get more involved with fundraising. It's, we really appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
And Warriors, just want to say thank you for listening. And we're going to do a couple-part series here. As Sherry mentioned, we have talk a little bit more about LLS on another episode. And we have a very special guest that's going to be coming up. And I'll leave that surprise till the episode's released, but you're not going to want to miss it. And remember that it takes many people years and significant efforts in organizations to solve major issues and provide solutions to problems like cancer and funding cancer research. And, if you have the opportunity to get involved, you should. If you have the opportunity to find a nonprofit to get involved with, you should. Do your research, find an organization to connect with, help them achieve their mission, and ultimately be a good person in the world. So thanks so much for being here, and subscribe and meet us right back for another episode of Civic Warriors coming up. Bye, everybody.